down. There we go. Welcome to the Oxford Exxon Podcast. It's Wednesday edition. I think we got that sorted out now. Ross Dellenger of Sports Illustrated is going to join us in about a half hour. We'll talk college football with him. Still coaching search news in the state of Mississippi as the Bulldogs are still trying to replace Joe Moorhead. And more as we get going this morning on the Oxford Exxon Podcast right here in City Valley by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West. Ribs, lunch specials, Oxford Crystal, home games for basketball. You know your tickets is a coupon, $150 off a sack full or a steamer pack. There's a new location in Saltillo. Take advantage of that gorgeous building. So been up here in the last month or so. And if you're looking for a job, you listen to the podcast, you can send a DM over to Oxford Exxon or Oxford Crystal on Twitter, and they will take care of you with that as well. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop it around, obviously. That's your prerogative. Or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's get into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the product. You'll love the service after the sale. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy, and he'll prove that to you. 662-257-1900.
Ole Miss basketball goes to College Station. They have a 10-point lead at the break. They end up losing by 10. I think they had 9 points about 15 minutes into the second half. Just terrible offensively in the second half. So
it was an awful performance.
Yeah.
It was an embarrassing performance. It was a performance that if they replicate that a few more times, they're a 2-16 SEC team. It was disgraceful. There was no effort. There was no grit outside of Bree and Tyree. It's frankly one of those days where if I'm Kermit Davis, I tell Bree, hey, you can go out and have a coffee or something, and then I tell the other guys, you're playing for your scholarships.
Yeah, he has, I think, 21 in the first half, and if he doesn't do that, they don't score.
He made some shots in the first half that camouflaged what was going on offensively. And then in the second half, when he returned to normal, and look, he played well. Brian played well. What did he get, 29 points? I mean, if you're going to nitpick a 29-point performance, do it without me. I'm not going to show up for that. He had 29 points, good. Brian played like an all-SEC guard.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of that team played like an all-Sun Belt third team. And that won't work in this league.
Got nothing out of Henson and Buppin last night. Just nothing.
No, 0.
2 points?
2 points, 7 boards. Franco Miller, I think, was the leading rebounder. I mean, there's your stat. It was 10:30. I wasn't about to pour through that stat sheet. I knew exactly what I'd
Well, there was
seen.
no reason to. The story was the final score was the team stats for the game. That was it. So they play Arkansas Saturday.
Well, here's the thing. You look over on the sideline, and I've seen a lot of people say Buzz Williams acted like a clown, all that stuff. I disagree. Buzz Williams was feeding intensity into his team, and they responded. The Ole Miss team could see Buzz Williams on the sideline. That doesn't make you want to beat that guy. You got to question your fiber a little bit. Because they kicked your ass, and they're not good.
No,
mistake.
They're by far a below-average SEC team.
They are 3-15 in the league is probably max.
You think so?
Yeah, they're bad.
I think they're that bad.
They're bad. But, hey, they won't be bad for long. His teams are never bad for long. He willed them to a win last night. Ole Miss isn't responding to Kermit right now. The bench as a weapon is not working right now. That's why I would call them into a room and I'd say, so here's the deal. You guys are playing for your scholarships, every single one of you, except Brian. He's a senior. Right now, he's the only guy that ever carries us. That's what I'd say to him. I'd tell every single one of them, you're playing for your scholarship.
Because of where expectations were for him, from where we have seen him play, what's going on with Devontae? What's the deal?
I don't know. His dad died in the offseason. He's a human being. I think there's some issues there. I think Devontae has a foot injury that flares up on him here and there that limits him. And then I think there's a difference when you're the second scorer and when you're the third scorer. There's a difference when you don't have to score. This team's missing a scorer. That's why when everybody goes, Luis Rodriguez, man, that's a big loss. I'm like, it is, but Luis Rodriguez wasn't going to be the scorer on this team. That was supposed to be Blake Henson. That was supposed to be KJ Buffin. And those guys have not stepped up at all with any degree of consistency. Hadim C is playing like a JUCO center who transferred. I mean, if you dropped a basketball guy from the sky down into that court, no background, no nothing, and said, hey, Hadim C, what do you think of that kid right there? He'd go, hey, is he a JUCO transfer? I guarantee you a smart basketball guy who had no idea would go, I wonder if he's a JUCO transfer first year. That's what he plays like.
He does.
Spurts, little out of shape.
It's across the board in every sport. Happens in football, happens in basketball, happens in baseball. That's what a JUCO transfer looks like.
It's why when fans in football go, why didn't we not go out and get a JUCO offensive lineman? Because they suck for 3/4 of their first year.
That's why we still talk about Pierce Burton, because he was good, came in and carried him.
Yeah. I mean,
exceptions, not norm.
There are exceptions,
but
the rule is that they suck for their first year. And Hadim doesn't suck. He's okay. He does some good things. Then he disappears for a while. It is safe to start questioning some evaluations.
It's early enough for that.
Yes.
Or long enough for that, sorry.
It's not I don't think it's been long enough to make definitive rulings, but I think it's fair to start asking, did you misevaluate on Sammy Hunter? Did you misevaluate on Franco Miller?
But even with Sammy Hunter coming in, I mean, and I don't even begin to cover it. It's kind of exactly what I heard though. Hey, raw as hell.
Yeah.
Could develop. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the book was on him, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and he's raw, boy, real raw.
I mean, that was
just not getting much out of him at all. Not getting much at all. They need KJ Buffin to step up and be a player, and he's not right now. He's just not. Need Blake to be a player, and he's not right now. They're not good enough to win many games in the league right now.
No, they're bad. They're bad right now.
They've got a stretch coming up where this thing could get ugly. They just lost to A&M. They got Arkansas at home on Saturday night. Arkansas plays at LSU tonight. Probably will lose. So it'll be a 1-1 Arkansas team in the league. They go to Florida. It's going to be difficult. LSU at home, difficult. At Tennessee will be difficult. At Georgia, there's nobody on that team to match Edwards. Georgia played Kentucky well. Auburn at home, very difficult. At LSU, difficult. I mean, this deal could get ugly now if they don't. That's if I'm Kermit, I'm sure he is. I'm laying it out. You play with this level of intensity, this thing could go easily, man. I mean, I'm not being serious. L. You have all those L's before your next really winnable game.
If you lose to Arkansas on Saturday?
Yeah. Well, shit, Arkansas is better than A&M.
Yeah.
They beat them by 10 points. There's no gimmies in this deal. If you're going to lose by 10 at A&M, there are no gimmies on the schedule. I mean, South Carolina, Frank Martin's team's not going to be a wallflower when they come to Oxford.
Well, and wasting a 29-point effort. Not doing that every night.
And then it's Florida, Mississippi State at home, at Kentucky, at Missouri. Hell, at Missouri's the next game, Rob. That's probably a win. They won't roll over in Columbia. Conzo's teams don't.
They look bad against Tennessee last night.
They did. They look bad. Alabama looks good. At Auburn, I mean, they're top 5 team. I guess Vanderbilt at home is a real winnable game. Missouri at home is a real winnable game. And at Mississippi State, I mean, it's not a stretch to say if you play like this, 4-14's on the table. That's not being negative. I'm sure I'll be accused of it, but that's not a negative take when I'm sitting there and hunt for wins.
No.
If they play the way they played the last 2 games, if I'm looking for wins on the schedule, there's about 4. And then here's the thing. If you can't find a way to procure the right type of talent in this league, it just isn't going to matter what kind of coach you are. Everybody's doing this coaching thing. Is Kermit overrated? Is Kermit this? Was Andy? You got to have players. I went to the tournament last year with Terrence Davis. He's playing in the NBA. You got to go get players that can play in the NBA. This is not complicated. This is not science. People make sports way too complicated. Nope, it's players. It's always been players. It'll always be players. Gordon Hayward took Butler within a bucket of the national title.
Ball was in the air.
Gordon Hayward's still in the NBA.
Well, look, it's that. It's recruiting a different level kid. Matthew Morrell's will start, but you got to have more than one. It's also evaluating, developing. I mean, like I said, right now, Buffin's not doing much in year 2. No. Henson's not doing much in year 2. No. I mean, you're just not getting for the recipe for this team to be successful was for those two guys to take steps. Well, they did. It was the wrong way right now.
Well, yeah, they were supposed to take big steps.
Yeah.
They were supposed to take big steps.
Not down.
Yes.
They're down right now.
Yeah, they were counting
Buffin's not as good as last year right now.
Oh, no. No, he's a less mature player right now than he was as a freshman. It's odd. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. You could argue that Blake is just not in game shape.
Yeah, I would be willing to give him some semblance of a pass at this point.
Well, I'm willing to give him a lot of pass because he was battling a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
For months, including the mental part of that, where you wondered, am I going to get to do this anymore?
Yeah. Well, and even back on the floor, hey, am I okay?
But the shot selection from Blake is what has to just drive you insane. 26-foot shots early in the shot clock is just an inexcusable error. And Kermit benches him, and then they do it over and over and over. It's so the message isn't getting through. For as much as his message got through to that team a year ago, it's not getting through to this one. I don't even think he would argue that. I mean, I don't know if there's a press opportunity or what. The question I have is, do you feel like you're able to reach this team? I think he'd bristle at it, but I think it's a fair question.
Oh, he's not reaching them right now.
Clearly.
I mean, you can see that. I don't know. Saturday's something. We'll see.
Not anymore. This isn't a tournament team.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I just mean to just get through the season in some way. You know what I mean? They don't need to roll a 4-14.
Look, Arkansas's good.
There's a huge difference in.
Isaiah Joe's a first-round pick. The best player on the floor Saturday night is going to be wearing an Arkansas uniform.
I guess my point, though, is from a program standpoint, there's a huge difference in even 7-11 and 4-14. Just accumulating some wins from a program standpoint.
Well, yeah, sure. There's a major momentum loss as a program.
Yeah, we're not talking about postseasons. That's not.
No. When you go from NCAA to not even on the NIT bubble, it's a major fall. And someone asked me today about net numbers. I'm like, man, net numbers are just absolutely the last thing you should be thinking about.
You lost to a team last night that had a net 64 points worse than the next team in the SEC.
But it's not even but it's not even that you lost. It's the way that you lost. It's the flatness with which you lost. It's the way you just gave the lead away in the second half and then just watched them kind of run away from you, and they played with this intensity and you looked at them kind of like, what are you guys doing? A&M wanted to beat you, and you did not answer that bell.
Did you watch any of the Jeopardy greatest thing last night?
I did not. I got in, and I was working on recruiting. Carson had a basketball game at 5:30. So I got in with him at about 7, and I did a recruiting story, and I helped Zach with his recruiting story. And then I turned on the game, and I watched I'm mad at myself for missing it. I watched the first half.
It's back on tonight. It's a long process.
I watched the first half of Ole Miss A&M. During halftime, I watched the overtime of Thunder Nets.
Okay.
Went back to the A&M game. I was working on my mailbag during the TV timeouts. Did 10 observations. was about 10:40, and I was exhausted, and I was trying to break the Mississippi State coaching search story.
We'll get to that.
So I was busy. I had a lot going on. I couldn't play Jeopardy.
Well, it was. I mean, everybody likes Jeopardy. Like
Love Jeopardy.
Everybody likes Jeopardy.
Love
It's
Jeopardy.
hard to not like Jeopardy.
Love Jeopardy.
And I remember the Jennings thing, I mean, vividly. I'd watch Jennings every day, but on that 74-game run back whenever it was, 2004, 2005, I don't know, something like that. Obviously, because of responsibilities and whatever, wasn't as engaged with Holtzhauer here in the last year or so, but incredibly impressive. So the format, they play 2 games a night, or reviewing 2 games a night, and that's one match. They add the dollar totals up for the 2 games together. First guy to win 3 matches wins the tournament.
Okay.
So we got nights of this.
Oh,
but
okay.
point being, the first game last night, through the first, I guess through Jeopardy, not a single question missed from anybody. They ran the entire table.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And as you're watching it, you realize, and it's kind of a dork for knowing this, but I did a lot. I had researched a lot of Holtzhauer in the past as he was making that run, and he has gotten so good at the buzzer that it's why he's probably the favorite, because most of them all know the answers to most questions. It's how quick you can buzz in, and if you hit it too early, you get locked out for a second, so you miss. Like last night, you'd see Jennings get annoyed sometimes because he was hitting it too early or Holtzhauer was beating him. But Jennings won last night. I mean, I'm not spoiler alert here, this thing, by $200, but he had enough of a lead in the last Final Jeopardy to know how much to wager. You know what I mean? So he could have won by more had he.
Were the questions harder than usual?
I thought so.
Okay.
Well, it's twofold. They're probably harder than usual, and B, these people are answering so fast, you don't have time to think about it. Does that make sense?
You being a normal person can't.
Yeah,
process.
like because I mean we're all answering with it and guessing and whatever. 'Cause that's what you do. There was a time in Double Jeopardy in one of the games last night where I got on a little bit of a roll and I was getting a few of them. But no, overall, I was getting nowhere near as many as I typically would.
You would not have contended with the game.
Well, I would never have a chance of getting the buzzer for
Right.
sure. But yes, where it like daily doubles, I would have gotten a couple of them through. I tell you what was so weird was there was a lot of categories that I thought, okay, maybe I got a shot. I answered like 8 of 10 chemistry questions correctly last night. And I would never have guessed that in the world. But
No.
I just, it was almost kind of like Slumdog Millionaire, where I don't know chemistry, but I knew those chemistry questions. And that's kind of probably all I could get, but that's what they ask. And I had a shot on those, but it was
So it's
it was
back on
highly
tonight?
entertaining. Yeah, I think it's back on tonight.
Okay.
It was highly entertaining last night.
Yeah,
It was fun.
I'm planning to watch it. Laura's got a girls' night out. Carson's got soccer. I get Carson back home from soccer, and I've got to feed them, and then I'm turning it on.
Yeah, I think because of what would happen, we've seen this too. So they taped this weeks ago. That's how Jeopardy works.
Sure.
And it got out on some betting sites, and I think some betting got screwed up on the guy who won. So a lot of offshore books have taken it off the board. So I think I actually know who wins the whole deal. But I mean, that's not the point. Who cares? It's pretty.
It's really more.
impressive.
This is more watching the process is far more interesting than the result.
Yeah, and it's a celebration of Jeopardy because we all know Trebek probably isn't doing this a whole lot longer. There's a lot of reasons for this right now.
Yeah.
And it's before Cutter and Jennings get old enough where they can't compete and still do this. I mean, Jennings kind of made a point about it last night. He goes, I'm really not completely that far away from my Jeopardy prime being over just mentally and whatever. Because they asked Brad Cutter, who was on Jeopardy 19 years ago, they said, what's the biggest problem now? Is it like new information? He goes, no, it's recall. He goes, it's just
speed.
I'm older. Yeah, it's just it's just recall.
Yeah.
And I
feel you.
Well, and he struggled last night. He was having a much harder time than Jennings and Holtzhauer were last night. So
I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was good. It was they did. I mean, I'll have to find some for you, but they did a couple categories. They've always done rhyme time, and those kind of tongue twister you a little bit. But they did I guess a before, now, and after one that they would give the answers, and I was still looking at it like I don't even understand how you would format that if I knew the answer. Because it was like Wheel of Fortune where you have to put it all together, and it was really, really complicated. But yeah, it was good last night. I recommend giving it a watch. So.
Good. Yeah, I was planning to. Tuesday was a work day.
Did Carson's team win?
Yes.
Who'd they play?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
The yellow and green team.
That's all you got?
That's it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why don't you know the other team?
I don't know. It's OPC. Carson plays for the Knicks, and I don't know who the other team is.
Is there a yellow in
I don't know.
the Supersonics?
Maybe.
Okay.
Beats me.
Is he orange and blue at least? Do they have Knicks colors?
Yeah, they're mostly blue. A little bit orange.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's OPC basketball. It's as badly officiated as you could possibly imagine. And I say that with all due respect.
Does that frustrate you?
No.
You seem frustrated.
No, not at all.
Didn't get your
No.
didn't get worked up over that one last night?
No, sir. Okay. Glad nobody got hurt.
All right, fair enough. We'll take a break and tell you about Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, 662-607-7773. Go mastercuts.com for a free quote, whether it's just waiting on the weather to warm up a little bit where you need some basic maintenance throughout that time of the year, or if you need a custom playground, pool decks, a lot of different options for you there with Mastercuts. So take care of any of it to get the dream backyard the way you want it. Again, 662-607-7773.
Ross Dellenger is going to join us in a little bit on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline this Sunday. It's Rafters Bluegrass Sunday Brunch. Go in, $3 mimosas, $5 famous Bloody Marys. Get ready for an NFL Sunday. Brunch starts at 10:45. It's fantastic. Rafters has multiple stages. It's a great place to go in and watch games. If you're in town Saturday for the basketball game, you want to go watch some NFL earlier in the day. They've got TVs all over the place, huge big screen television as well. Be a really fun place to start and finish your Saturday in Oxford. And then don't forget, as I mentioned at the beginning, the Sunday brunch there at Rafters on the Square in Oxford. Don't just accept what you see, but imagine something new. Step forward and chase after a better version of yourself. Every day, Corinth Dental is helping people reinvent themselves one smile at a time. Dr. Bubba McQueen and Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative state-of-the-art procedures, including Invisalign. These clear aligners are the virtually invisible way to improve your smile. Call Corinth Dental for a no-cost digital scan of your teeth. Let them show you the way to a straighter, healthier smile. 12-month no interest, no down payment financing available at corinthdental.com. Splinter Creek is a gated conservation community. It's located 8 miles southwest of Oxford, 75 minutes from the Memphis airport. SplinterCreekMS.com is the website. Give them a call, 601-898-2772. You can schedule a tour with Tom Smith Land and Home agents today. Listen, if you're thinking about moving to Oxford, retiring to Oxford, you owe it to yourself to at least go look at Splinter Creek. If nothing else, it'll be a beautiful afternoon observing nature. 34 lakefront lots ranging in size from 2 to 25 acres, 650 acres of lakes, pine and hardwood forest, 6 miles of private roads. It's well-maintained running, cycling, and hiking trails. It's just an absolutely beautiful plot of land. It's the lakes are the main streets of Splinter Creek. They each have a combination of docks and floating piers, a pavilion with fire pit, outdoor kitchen for use by homeowners, their families, guests, and more. It's just really cool. You should check it out, SplinterCreekMS.com. Zach Berry and I posted with Chase's help, we posted a soft verbal podcast yesterday, sort of resetting the board as we get ready for the dead period to come to an end and the very live period to get started. You can hear that where you listen to podcasts. It's on the site at rebelgrove.com. It is brought to you by Dead Soxy. Dead Soxy, the best socks you will ever put on your feet. The no-shows are great. The traditional socks are awesome as well. And if you go to deadsoxy.com and spend $75 or more on orders, you'll get a really cool mesh bag. You can put your socks in. It can go in the wash. It can go in the dryer. You won't lose your socks, and you'll help maintain the integrity of your sock design for a lot longer. Go to deadsoxy.com, deadsoxy.com. Enter promo code RebelGrove for 30% off all of your orders.
Well, you said you were trying to break it. Where are we at with State's coaching search as of this morning? We'll lead this into Dellinger in a couple minutes.
I'd be surprised, and maybe Ross will tell me I'm an idiot. I would be surprised if it's not Steve Sarkisian, based on the information that was out there last night.
How long do you think he's been targeted? Is this relatively new, or do you think this has been going on a while?
I think they talked to him over the weekend. Mississippi State allowed this to get weird. They have done what Ole Miss did in 17. Had a plan, deviated from the plan at the last minute because of emotion, and here you are. Now, the question is, what was the plan? Because it doesn't appear that Billy Napier was on board with the plan. So what in the hell was the plan? But the plan absolutely, going into Thanksgiving Day,
was to fire Joe Moorhead.
Was at the conclusion of that game, win, lose, draw, or rain out, fire Joe Moorhead. They win the game. As we know, the Elijah Moore thing happened. Luke Logan misses the kick. You get the emotion of the Egg Bowl, and everybody runs around with the trophy and all that stuff. And then, the Ole Miss team gets on the bus, and they go home, and they turn the lights out, and they shut down the Coke machine, and you wake up the next morning, and you can't let the emotion impact you anymore, and they did.
Sarkeesian reclamation project.
Yeah. Very similar
Makes
to what
this
Ole Miss
state
has
interesting.
done.
If I say it is, it's from even places. This is very interesting.
Two people, if it happens, two people who are former USC head coaches, two people
Alabama assistants,
two people who are former Alabama offensive coordinators, two people who are friends, two people who are Nick Saban reclamation projects to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Two people who I don't think will give one real damn about the whole Egg Bowl thing.
If they talk about changing the rivalry, this would do it. Sarkeesian and Kiffin.
See, I think that's embraced here. My question is that embraced there? Because I don't think so.
They're going to get frustrated when he doesn't care.
I mean, let me say, I don't know Mississippi State. I don't know people there. As I said on the message board yesterday, I am oblivious to some degree of the intensity of the rivalry because I don't live it. As crazy as that sounds, but I don't. But I experience MSU Twitter. I don't know that those people are going to embrace a coach who treats the Ole Miss game like, hey, it's just another game. I like Lane. Lane's a good dude. Go try to beat him. But, hey, good guy, good friend.
Yeah.
We hang out. If this happens, they'll be together in Destin, and I could see them sitting on the beach, and having a chat.
Yeah.
How's your mom and them? It's not, we're going to kill you. All that stuff. I mean, I can see that. I don't know how well that goes over there with the hardcores.
Yeah. Well, that's Ross's opinion in 1 second as well. Obviously, he'll have plenty of Mississippi ties. He's covering this as well. So we'll go to Ross Dellenger in a second. If you're hanging in our live stream, we're going to hit pause for a second. You'll get it when we come back in just a second. Just stay here. You don't have to do anything else. Just stay here. We'll be back in a second with Ross Dellenger.
Ross Dellenger, kind enough to join us here on what is a busy, what is today, Wednesday morning. Ross, welcome into the show. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, good to be here, guys.
So I was asking this a minute ago before we stopped to get you on. It's my pretty educated opinion that Mississippi State had a plan on Thanksgiving Day that kind of no matter what happened in the Ole Miss game, whether they won or they lost or whatever, some natural disaster, they were going to fire Joe Moorhead and move on. Twofold question here. Is that your understanding of what they had planned? And if that was the case, what, in your opinion, was the plan?
Yeah, that was the plan. I feel pretty confident in saying that had Joe Moorhead in Mississippi State lost the Egg Bowl, that he would have been fired the next day or a day later. I think they ended up meeting on Saturday after that, and of course John Cohen and him met and talked about the future of him being the coach and him staying on after they won the Egg Bowl by a point. All seemed well, and so I think but the original plan was, there's no game in college football that makes or breaks or fires or hires coaches more than the Egg Bowl. It's really fascinating, and this was one that obviously Matt Luke got fired, and I think the same would have happened to Joe if he had lost that game.
Yeah, and I think both schools got to get away from that. It leads to really silly decisions to some degree. So where does this thing with State stand right now? I know that they had targeted Joe Judge there earlier in the week. He lands the New York Giants job, which is absolutely sending shockwaves through the National Football League. But Mississippi State probably had a deal close to done with Judge. That was my understanding. He goes to the Giants. They've made, enough swings at Billy Napier that they're either going to get him or he's going to put out a restraining order at some point. Where does this where is this thing right now with them?
Yeah, I think the start of the search was certainly a lot of this is almost none of this at all is coming from the guy running the search, John Cohen, but it's coming from some trusted people and just people in the industry, not necessarily at Mississippi State, but there was an A-list of people, and I think Billy Napier was at the top of it, and they tried, and then it sounds like they kind of moved on to the next people on that A-list, which sounds to me was Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian, Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator at Florida, and Joe Judge, the Patriots special teams coordinator. I think there were some other people that John had some interest in. The Air Force coach Troy Calhoun, the Army coach Jeff Monken, even LSU's pass game coordinator down there in Baton Rouge, Joe Brady, even though he's 30 years old. I think that John is probably using part of this search as a reconnaissance and learning time for him, as an AD. And so he's talking to a lot of people. But the ones I first mentioned were the top guys, and he went through them and moved on from Billy Napier and went to Joe Judge, and also interviewed Grantham and Sarkisian, and offered the job to Joe Judge, has been pretty widely reported now on Monday, and he poor John got into a bidding war or negotiations with a coach who was also talking to an NFL team, and not just any NFL team, but the New York Giants, about their head coach. So that's a tough spot to be in, and he lost. And so then, they move on again, and it sounds like up next were the other two guys that I mentioned, Todd Grantham and Steve Sarkisian, and Jeff Monken's name's been kind of mentioned, but I think Sarkisian was impressed them impressed John and whoever else was in there in the interview from what I heard, and that seems to be the hot name right now. But it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, and so as of now, I don't think anything's done or anything.
I think you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I spent more time on this than I even ever intended to because I like coaching searches, and when they turn into train wrecks, I'm just fascinated. And this one's not a train wreck yet. It's getting close to one. It's not there yet. They can still salvage it. The thing about when you fire Joe Moorhead to hire Todd Grantham, nothing against Todd Grantham, but it's kind of underwhelming. It begs the question, why'd you do that?
Yeah, and a lot of ADs have told me that. Now, not necessarily mentioning Todd's name, but they've seen how this search is going. And even for a guy like Joe Judge, even a guy like Joe Judge who was hired by the New York Giants, that says a lot. But ADs kind of that I've talked to and some other administrators, like, if you're going to fire Joe Moorhead who went 14-12, and I understand the off-the-field issues and discipline and blah, 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 but you're going to do all that, you better have like a plan, or not just a plan, because John clearly he did have a plan, but you kind of better have your guy locked up already. I mean, that's what a lot of administrators will tell you. Like, you better have the guy in hand, and that does not sound at all like what happened, and that's why we sit here on day 6 of this coaching search, and it's still very much alive. It seems like.
And Sarkisian, much like Lane Kiffin, a bit of a reclamation project. The deal at SC he left there for Washington and all that stuff in Washington. Like you said, it didn't particularly go that great at a program where people traditionally have won. He was fine. He wasn't awful, but he certainly wasn't elite at all. He's been with Saban for a little while. He's had some off-the-field stuff in the past that appears to have been cleared up. But I keep hearing, and you're far more connected at Mississippi State than I am, I keep hearing there are some reservations there about Sarkisian. Do you hear that as well?
I haven't really heard that, but I haven't also, dove into those questions with people there. Just because his name has kind of risen to the top the last few hours, but I wouldn't doubt it. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, look, this is a place that is before. I mean, I was in school there, 13 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, and they at one point when I was in school still they didn't sell cold beer. They obviously. It's heavy Baptist, and their president, Mark Keenum, has been very conservative, I guess is the right word, when it comes to the SEC recently lifting the alcohol, basically prohibition on stadium alcohol sales, and he has not done it, and it's been one of the more defiant ones about it. So I would not be surprised at all if there is some pushback for a man who just to put it bluntly, showed up to work drunk multiple times while coach at USC. So everything I've heard the last 2 or 3 years, he's okay now. Everything seems to be okay on that front. And people at Alabama that I talked to from this past season kind of rave about the job he did. So. But I wouldn't be surprised if John is getting some pushback on him as a candidate, a serious candidate.
You have, not that you're advocating anybody, that's not your job and that's not what you do, but you've openly said, hey, why not give Mike Leach a call at this point? And I gotta be honest with you, I totally agree with you. Why not, if you're Mississippi State today, at least play around with that wild card, see what that would look like? Is there any possibility in your mind that Mississippi State ends up making a call to Mike Leach?
I saw a report from ESPN last night. It wasn't really a report. It was just kind of a list of names. So you know how that works. But I respect the guy who put it out there, Adam Rittenberg, and he did mention Leach. He mentioned Sarkisian, of course, as we did a few days ago. In fact, for a while there, as you guys know as reporters, when you kind of put something out there and you're on an island for not just hours but days,
it's miserable.
You feel like, oh God, did I get some wrong information?
Yeah.
And over the weekend, I put out Sarkisian's name, and it's like, okay, Saturday passed, Sunday passed, Monday passed. Like, what is going on here? Finally, an Alabama beat reporter who's pretty connected, put the tweet out there Tuesday night about Sarkisian, and I kind of thought, whoo, thank God. But it's one of those things, you feel like. And then Adam, last night mentioned Sarkisian, but he also mentioned Leach, and I think Adam's pretty connected. And I would call Leach. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt I would. I don't know if John's going to. I will tell you this though, there's people around John that think that he should. Probably have told him that he should. So, I think Leach has made it pretty well known he's ready to get out of Pullman.
He would take the Mississippi State job right now. He would take the job on the phone call.
Yeah.
There would be very little negotiation. He would jump at it.
Yeah, and that would be, when you fire, again, a guy that won 14 games in 2 years at Mississippi State, you want to bring in not just, a kind of a home run, but a splashy name and all this to the fan base and, rally the troops kind of thing. And he would absolutely be it.
I want to get off Mississippi State in a second, but you just said a key word, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. In your opinion, how much did Ole Miss's hiring of Lane Kiffin, who is, whether it works or not, we'll find out, but there's no question that it has led to a splash, and they've gotten a lot of attention and that kind of thing. They're going to sell a lot of tickets. There's a lot of excitement. Those are things that cannot be debated. Whether he wins or not, we'll see. How much of that do you think is impacting what Mississippi State's doing right now, if at all?
Yeah. In discussion with people before this happened with Joe and a little bit after, that's never been brought up, but that's probably because I was talking to a lot of Mississippi State people, and I'm sure that's something that they're not going to bring up or want out there, but it is really hard to believe that they did this without that at least in the back of their mind, that up the road in the rival school and hey, look, I'm a Mississippi State graduate, stopped being a fan a long time ago, but my wife is, graduated from there. She's still a big fan. But there is a insecurity at Mississippi State, and there always has been, about the school up the road, and when the school up the road hires somebody like that, it's just almost if it's not on the front burner or front portion of people's mind there in power, but it's at least on the back, and it's maybe even subconsciously slipping in, but it's hard to believe that was not at least something that impacted this decision. Was it the main thing? I really don't think so, but I think that it was probably a factor in some way.
How do you think Lane's going to do at Ole Miss? Short term, long term, if there is a long term?
Well, I think I remember Neal reached out to me when all that was going on for like some quotes. Yeah. And I remember saying, and some other ADs have said the same. It's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. It doesn't seem like there's much in between with Lane. Now that's kind of a cliche people say about people, but Lane kind of fits that in. So you're either going to be riding really high there, or it's going to end in a fiery mess maybe.
It's so funny.
That's always kind of what it's. Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because now that I think about it, it's been a month? I've talked to a lot of football people in that month about different things. And when I mentioned Kiffin, I've gotten two reactions. People have gone, man, it's a great hire. That dude is going to win big there. He's going to really shake it up. Or what are they thinking? That is going to be a disaster. Not one person has said, yeah, he'll do fine. They'll win 7 or 8 games. I mean, no one has said that. It's one or the other. Yeah. It's, oh, yeah, man, they're going to compete. Or, dude, that is going to be a nuclear meltdown. It's been one of those two reactions every single time.
It is. That's what it is with Lane. That's what it feels like. He doesn't feel like a coach that's going to bop around between 5 and 7 and 7 and 5. It feels like he's going to win in a place like Ole Miss. 9 and 3 or 10 and 2, or we're going to be sitting at 3 and 9. It just doesn't seem like the guy that you say, he's going to just do fine. He'll be okay. He'll be fine. It's more of it's more on either end of the spectrum.
I know you talked about your ties to Mississippi State. You also have a lot of ties to LSU. You covered that program. You lived down there. You and your wife were living down there until fairly recently, I think. If I had told you 2-3 years ago that Ed Orgeron would have LSU at 14-0 with the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback getting ready to play Clemson for the national title in New Orleans, would you have thought I were insane?
Either insane or just really hammered. One or the other. I mean, because I've spent a lot of time down there, and I've seen offensive football down there for so long be so old-fashioned, even under Ed. I mean, they did some new things under Ed than less. They did. They branched out a little bit, but they went from like a 1 to like a 3. And now we're sitting here at like a 9, and it's just the quick ascension of the offense because of the people that Ed brought in. You got to commend them. The hiring of Joe Brady, the getting the transfer in Joe Burrow, selling him on Louisiana and LSU. Give him credit. That's probably the biggest thing Ed has done. Ed's a great motivator and recruiter, and he's slowly becoming a good CEO of a program, which is shocking to say, especially you guys, right? Just his experience up there, he was probably the worst at that, and the worst at decisions, and the worst at handling pressures of a kind of a CEO role. But he's slowly becoming that, and he's made incredibly good decisions and surrounding himself with great people and obviously great players.
Who wins that game on Monday night? I know you've seen those two teams a lot. Obviously, Clemson is basically blown out everyone they've played, with the exception of Ohio State. The last 2/3 of the season, LSU is what we've talked about. It looks, on paper, it looks like a great game. Is that what you anticipate?
I do. I think it's going to be a great one. I think it's going to be within a touchdown, certainly within like 10 points or so. Maybe not quite as high scoring as we all think. I don't necessarily think Clemson's going to slow LSU down or stop LSU, but maybe they'll do it maybe as much as like an Auburn did, which kept LSU out of the end zone, didn't really slow them offensively. They had over 500 yards, but maybe they keep them to in the high 20s or low 30s, which is pretty good. And then Clemson's receivers are going to have to get separation, between with LSU's defensive backs, 2 or 3 that are obviously first-round picks. So that's where a big matchup for me lies. But I think it's going to be a good game. I think LSU pulls it out in the end, and basically a quasi-home game for them.
Last thing, kind of looking ahead a little bit to next season, and I know there will be all sorts of people, maybe you included, who almost immediately after the championship game take that first look ahead to the 2020 season. Tua's gone from Alabama now. He's going to the NFL. Joe Burrow will be gone after Monday night. He's headed to the very top of the NFL as well. When you look at the SEC, just no one's going to hold you to this. At least we won't. When you look at the SEC going into 2020 with just kind of the reset at the quarterback position and some of that stuff, some of the new coaches in the league, what do you sort of anticipate 8-9 months away?
Yeah. You look at teams returning a quarterback, which, like you mentioned, not a ton, and that's A&M and Auburn come to mind. I don't, as of this point, I don't think Jake Fromm has made a decision. Although, from talking to NFL scouts and stuff, just during the season, everybody expected him to come out, but I don't think he's made a decision yet. But Auburn in A&M with Kellen Mond and Bo Nix, they returning guys who various points this season, really did struggle. But they're back, and so those will be interesting to watch. It seems like every year Gus comes into the season on the hot seat, and a lot of people thought if he didn't win that Iron Bowl this past season that he would be gone. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but it seems like we're in that situation again where he needs to really contend for a championship in November. But Jimbo's getting paid $7.5 million a year. So a lot of pressure on those two guys, and they're returning quarterbacks, which is going to be a rarity this coming year. So those stick out. And obviously what Dan Mullen's done at Florida, he'll have his guy is I believe coming back, and he's going to have if he keeps Todd around, which kind of sounds like it's going to happen, then Todd Grantham, that is, and he'll have a good squad. So those are kind of teams that I think could emerge, and maybe this is the year that Florida beats Georgia. Maybe this is the year that Auburn gets in there back in that championship game and A&M maybe contends. So it should be an interesting one. But you're right. It's interesting how all the big powers of late in the league are losing their quarterbacks.
How's the food and drink in your new home? As I'll let you go.
It's great. I really love it. The probably the 2-3 best things about living here in DC. It's the first time I've lived in any big major city. Is I don't have a car, so I don't have to fight traffic. You walk everywhere. You can pretty much walk across the entire city if you want to. It's pretty safe and it's pretty cool. And take the metro or even take the bus here. The public transportation is amazing. And then the other thing is the international food here is just awesome. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Some of the best stuff like I've ever had. And traveling out of here is so easy. Reagan International Airport, right in the middle of the city. I jump on a metro ride, 18 minutes. It's great. Now I will say I miss crawfish. I miss winters at 70 degrees, and I miss a beat of beer. But outside of that, it's been great.
Can you find any good Cajun food up there at all? Is there any substitute that works up there? I mean, even a little bit.
There's Vietnamese crawfish, which I've never had before. It scares the crap out of me. But I have a friend up here who's been begging me to go, and I just know I'm going to go and get sick or something. But my expectations are so high for crawfish. There is some Cajun stuff here, man. My wife went to and there's some Southern food here, but my wife went to there's a restaurant in town. I won't name it. And she went, and it's supposed to be Southern food. And she got, I think it was biscuits and gravy maybe. And she brought it home. She hadn't eaten half of it. I looked at it and I'm like, that is not biscuits and gravy. What is that? So you just got to go international here. Best to stay safe.
Enjoyed it, bud. Have a good day. Hope we'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
See you, Ross. Thanks, man.
Was Ross Dellenger there on the Rafters hotline? Yeah,
one of the best guys in this whole
he's
business.
Great.
He's great.
Vietnamese crawfish. Never had it. Don't think I want it. Honestly, I'm good.
Be a little afraid of the rest of my evening.
Think so?
Yeah.
You think that'd be
I'd have some, and I love kimchi. Love it.
Yeah. But not so much.
I mean, I guess I'd try it. I'd be tentative.
Tentative. Is
yes.
that the word?
Hesitant. Reluctant.
What sticks out from that conversation? Whether it be Ole Miss State, whatever.
I told you guys before we hit the button. There are rumors that State could hit the reboot button on this thing.
Dude, it's January the 8th.
I'm aware. They're. We'll see. I listen. I don't. Sarkisian's issues appear to be in the past. His alcoholism issues that he owned and addressed and attacked.
But they went so big on fit, kept talking about fit, and then you hire Steve Sarkisian, who's
not a fit.
He might win, but he has no fit at all with Mississippi State.
No, he doesn't fit at all. And had he not been on Saban's staff the last few years, he wouldn't even be considered. I'm back to my original question. Ross didn't have the answer to it, maybe because there is no answer to it. What was the plan? Why were you firing Joe Moorhead in late December, early January? Why? What happened, but beyond a fight, what happened that led you to make that decision? Didn't you have to know if you're John Cohen and I always forget the president's name, Keenum. Didn't you have to know that the emotion of winning the Egg Bowl would wear off? It always does. They've played the game for 100 years?
Yep.
State's won some. They've lost some. You know the emotion's going to wear off from that game one way or the other. It is. It does. It just does. So what in the hell were you thinking?
I think it was Dylan that had that stat. Moorhead's the first coach at State since 1937 that wasn't fired after an Egg Bowl loss.
Wow. So someone says Lane Kiffin, that's what happened. And maybe it is that simple. I have a hard time believing that.
So you copy it?
Yeah, just
because they're very similar dudes in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways. I have a very difficult time believing that they fired Lane Kiffin. I mean, that Ole Miss hired Lane Kiffin, and that Mississippi State essentially called a meeting and said, okay, well, we weren't going to do anything, but we have to now. Now, if you told me that part of Mississippi State's gamble was that, hey, they're going to keep Luke another year. We can kick this can down the road another year. Okay. I buy that. Maybe, sort of, kind of. But the issues inside that locker room started long before the Egg Bowl and did not end with the Egg Bowl and had nothing to do with Lane Kiffin.
Right.
Someone asked about Sarkisian as a recruiter. Here's the thing. And I don't mean this as an insult to Mississippi State at all. I really don't. Recruiting to USC and recruiting to Washington and recruiting to Alabama and recruiting to Mississippi State. Do you remember in kindergarten when you were sort of learning like spatial stuff? I remember this in kindergarten. I'll tell you a little Neal McCready anecdote that will tie in with this. I always liked penguins. I've always liked penguins. At the zoo, I like to watch the penguins, okay?
I saw some penguins on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
In New Orleans.
Oh, good for you.
The aquarium.
I like penguins. I think they're interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're interesting. When I was in kindergarten, there was we had to X out the animal that didn't belong. There was like a lion and a tiger and a jaguar and a penguin.
So a bunch of cats and a penguin.
And I didn't want to X out the damn penguin.
It belonged everywhere to you.
It was a penguin.
You didn't want to hurt its feelings.
I didn't want to hurt the penguin's feelings by putting a big X through it. And so I didn't. And I got in trouble.
What'd you mark off?
I didn't.
You left the answer blank?
I was defiant.
So you didn't mark out the tiger?
Nope. I didn't want to be wrong, but I didn't want to hurt the penguin's feelings either.
Wanted them all to play. Room in the sandbox for everybody.
So if you were to put, for the football kindergartner, an emblem of USC, Washington, Mississippi State, and Alabama, and say which one doesn't belong, pretty easy which one you're going to put the X through. And it's not Alabama, and it's not USC, and it's not Washington. That's how they give the ACT at Waynesboro.
Except with some inflection.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah. The cat says bark, purr, meow. It's like, okay.
So
tweet.
I mean, I don't know how he's going to recruit, because recruiting, hey, come play for Nick Saban. Hey, come play at USC.
Yeah.
Come to Seattle. Come to Starkville, are different deals.
You okay?
Well, yeah, no, I'm good. We'll see.
You stopped on the ding. I thought I was
well.
like, okay. You seemed confused for a second.
No, my phone's just.
Is it doing stupid stuff today?
It's an interesting. Today's got a chance to be an interesting day, just in a lot of different ways. I don't. We'll see.
I love how you actually spent time on this yesterday.
On the state search?
Yeah.
Probably spent an hour.
Just couldn't help it, could you?
No. I told you. Number one, I get a coaching search. I'm fascinated by coaching searches. I like them.
It's frankly the number one reason, probably in your head a little bit, because economically this makes more sense than anything else you could do in journalism. But coaching searches as a national reporter, you could spend your year on that and just have fun.
Oh yeah,
that's probably the one career thing where you're like,
I missed my call.
Yes, I'm saying where it's just, I'm just going to do coaching searches all the time. That's what I'm going to do.
I would have done them. I mean, if you. I'm not talented enough to be a national journalist, except for coaching searches. I think I could have held my own. And so when I say I spent an hour, I wasn't like, but
here's the thing, pretty good at it because so much of coaching searches is two things. It's weeding through all the crap because you get so much stuff that's wrong.
Well, you get lied to.
Yeah, that you got to realize, okay, what's the message in here? What's the subtext in here? You got to read through a lot of it. And then two, you've got to realize when something doesn't feel right or a fit is weird. And that's where this Sarkisian thing is funny because in a way it kind of feels right because I think it's who they're hiring. But the fit is so wrong that I look at it and go, God, are they making the same mistake again?
Okay, but what is the fit? It's not Grantham, is it?
Look, that hire would, oh God, if I'm a State fan, would make me shiver.
This league's pretty crazy right now.
Okay, here's my point, though. With Sarkisian is, what is he going to do? Because look, I get you can do a bit, and I'm sure going to be some State fan. My Twitter won't do what yours does, but it'll blow up a little bit when I say this. Ole Miss has proven over the last how many ever years that it can recruit nationally when everything's going fine. They've signed top 5 classes, top 7 classes. They've signed 2 of the top 5 players in the country twice.
Yeah,
Patterson and Little and Treadwell and Kimdichie.
Sure.
So point being, they're comfortable in Kiffin's space. That's fine.
Sure.
Going to Florida, going to Texas, cherry pick Mississippi, go from there.
Sure.
State doesn't have that kind of cachet nationally. State's never proven it can go be this national recruiting program. So with Sarkisian, are we trying to do that? Or are we going, no, I'm going to hire a bunch of Mississippi dudes and still do what I do? Well, he's uncomfortable in that, I would assume. That's my problem is he trying to do this? Now, we might have said the same thing about Mullen, and Mullen immediately jumped into that Mississippi boat and did that whole deal. So maybe he's a chameleon. But I don't believe in any – and look, I can eat my words later. That's fine. You can get this as a clip. Steve Sarkisian is nowhere near the coach of Dan Mullen, in my opinion.
Yeah, Dan Mullen is an elite top 10 national coach. Period. The end. I'll fight you on it.
Yeah.
I'll die on that hill. We can fight. I know everybody hates him. I get that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about personality. I'm not his coach. Dan Mullen could go to any program in America and win. He's a top 10 national coach. I'll fight for that.
Okay.
I'm not willing to say that about Steve Sarkisian.
Well, no.
I'm not even willing to think about that.
I guess my point is you wouldn't have said it about Dan Mullen either in 2009. But
no.
I'm playing a little devil's advocate. I understand.
If Dan Mullen lands Cam Newton,
he wins a national
title. Where's he today?
I mean, seriously, where is he? Coaching the NFL somewhere?
Probably.
Head coach of the Dallas Cowboys or something now?
Something like that.
We will take our last break here. I'm going to put one in later.
Yeah.
We'll take our last break here on the podcast. About Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. They're getting local underwriting, understands your market, a leader in condo financing, the float down option, and with the rates as low as it's been in about 2.5 years, something like that. Great time to talk to Jason, 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Our friends at Blue Delta Jeans want to give a big thank you to all listeners of the Oxford Exxon Podcast for their incredible support in 2019. They're thrilled to move into 2020 with the Rebel Grove community. SEC basketball play about to kick off in Oxford on Saturday. And as you make your way into Oxford to cheer on Kermit and the Ole Miss basketball team, don't forget to stop by the Blue Delta Jeans studio to check out Blue Delta's awesome jeans, cotton pants, Genos, and even stretch corduroy fabrics for the winter. The Oxford studio is open 10 to 6 every day except Sunday. But if you need an after-hours fitting, don't hesitate to reach out to Blue Delta Jeans on social media or at info@bluedeltajeans.com to get your custom fitting scheduled today. We'll have picks up tomorrow. We'll pick all 4 NFL games. We'll pick the national championship game. Those picks are brought to you by Southern Craft Stove and Tap. They've got your pregame and pre-concert needs covered, whether you're headed to Oxford for the Rebels SEC basketball slate or to Tupelo for one of the many events like Miranda Lambert on January the 16th. Make sure you get your event started off right with a visit to Southern Craft, conveniently located off Highway 7 and Sisk Avenue in Oxford and at 205 East Troy Street in Tupelo. Southern Craft has all your Southern favorites ready to serve your hunger needs. Or drop in and enjoy a curated cocktail or one of their many craft beers on tap. Also, don't forget to ask about their banquet room for private dining, or to have all of your favorites catered for any occasion from office to private event, it's now available in both locations at Southern Craft Stove and Tap. Podcast also brought to you by Nest and Wild. Sleep better with the Nest and Wild mattress. Nest and Wild's a Mississippi-based mattress company making a high-quality mattress delivered right to your door. They make buying a new mattress easy. Every Nest and Wild mattress is 1 foot thick, giving you comfort and support that will last. A lot of online brands sell an 8-inch or 10-inch mattress with less support and durability, but from the twin size to the California King, every Nest and Wild mattress is 1 foot thick. Also, with Nest and Wild, you fight cancer in your sleep. Nest and Wild have partnered with Major League pitcher Jason Mott's foundation in the fight against cancer, and they donate a portion of every mattress sold back to Jason's charity. It's a no-risk decision. Nest and Wild believes in their product so much they're offering a 99-night trial on every mattress. So try it out, sleep on it for 99 nights, and if you don't like it, you can return it. Go to nestandwild.com, order your mattress, use the podcast code REBEL20 and get 20% off your mattress. Your mattress will arrive at your door in 3 to 5 days. We'll be dropping a Mind on My Money podcast later today, probably about midday or so. Those are brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust based in Madison, Mississippi. They've got clients in more than 20 states, advisors in multiple states as well. Founded in 1997, Pinnacle Trust provides detailed specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan that's built just for you. It's pintrust.com. PINNtrust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Sarkisian is 45 years old at this point.
He and Kiffin are basically the same age.
Kiffin's a year younger. Yeah, basically the same. I mean, resume. USC, Oakland, USC, Washington, USC, Alabama, Atlanta, and Alabama again. That is.
And I think they're good friends.
Do you?
I do.
Let's see. He was at SC 01 to 03 and 05 to 08. So they definitely are overlapping several times there. So
I'm sure they know a lot of the exact same people.
Yeah, I guess you can do it a different way. Maybe it can work. But State's done a pretty good job of being the program they are at developing and identifying and really trying to control a quantity of Mississippi players, find fits, that kind of thing. Overturning that system and hoping you can recruit regionally and nationally and be a different type of program. I guess it's the only way to open up your ceiling more if you believe there's more of a ceiling, but it's risky as all hell. There's no doubt about that.
It is. I just don't know who the fit is. If it's not him, it's not Mike Leach isn't
It was Napier.
Fit.
Napier was a fit.
Napier's a fit.
Napier is a fit.
He didn't want it. He didn't want it.
I mean, he is the fit, in my opinion.
I think he's turned down a lot of money. He didn't want it. And maybe he knows he's getting the Baylor job. I don't know. Maybe he's betting on himself. I don't know. I'll tell you this. I've talked to enough people to say this with authority. Billy Napier is a deep thinker. He does not do something just because conventional wisdom says to do it.
No, he said yesterday he believes he can control that conference at ULL as long as he needs to, and you just go from there and you wait on something. And
he thinks he can do better than Mississippi State.
It's all right.
Oh, hey, look. At the end of the day, if you're Billy Napier, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to look in the mirror. Don't make decisions for other people. Make them for you. Are you surprised at all? No jokes. No jokes.
Yeah, sure.
If you're willing to hire Steve Sarkisian, let me play this out here.
Okay.
You're willing to take on baggage.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Why would you not at least contemplate Hugh Freeze?
All right.
Hugh Freeze has
All right,
won in
okay,
Mississippi.
Okay.
Has Mississippi ties. He's won at Liberty. I know, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And I'm not ripping Hugh Freeze. I'm just saying you're willing to take on Sarkisian's baggage. Why not entertain the idea of taking on Freeze's baggage? Because from a fit standpoint, Freeze is a better fit in Starkville than Sarkisian is.
He is. Okay, here are the reasons that you don't do it.
Okay.
A, you don't know what the hell else is out there. You're recruiting against Ole Miss, who has all the information on Hugh Freeze from his tenure. Do we really want to play that game? Especially now when it looks like they have a big bag of DGAF going on right now. Like, do we really want to play that game right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just saying. There appears to be a little bit of a quick trigger finger in Oxford at the moment. I wouldn't necessarily want to go there.
Is it bad that I just want it to happen because I want Steve Robertson and Robbie Falk and those guys to have to cover Hugh Freeze? Is it bad just because that's what I want?
Okay, that's part of it. Two, yes, but again, we said State's got to develop. Ole Miss did not develop the defensive side of the football. What he had a lot of really good players that won a lot of games. Did they really develop roster wide though?
No.
So is it a fit from that standpoint?
No, he's offensive minded.
And then also, what kind of staff is that under Freeze back in Mississippi? Because
Maurice
frankly,
Harris would recruit Memphis.
He would. Lane have to go to bed 20 minutes earlier to combat that one. I don't know who follows Freeze to the State gig from a staff standpoint. That would be a problem, I think.
Yeah, probably.
To compete.
Well, you're a buzzkill.
I'm sorry. But mainly it's the first one. I mean, I'd go to bed every night going, hey, is this the day they release 100 phone records? I mean, seriously.
Would Steve have to write a new chapter in his book?
That guy wasn't so bad. Hey, pocket dial.
Those
Sorry.
are all pocket dials, man.
Sorry.
That's what I meant to write the first time. I'd go to that press conference, just sit in the back.
Think Kane would come back and be the D coordinator for Freeze at State?
No.
You don't?
No.
Okay, I'm asking.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
No.
Just throwing some names out there.
No.
Okay.
No.
Don't think so?
Hell no.
Okay. Well, we've already been over this once, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. He'd hire Derek and Tyrone.
Probably.
He'd hire Derek Nix.
Yeah, sure.
Get some of that gang back together.
Yeah.
Boy, that'd be complicated for somebody.
Freeze is going to get another Power 5 job very soon. It's just not going to be in the SEC, in my opinion.
It'd be complicated for somebody
It would.
in Oxford.
It would. Baylor's not hiring Freeze, but not the worst fit in the world. It's not a bad fit. How is it a bad fit? Program's in pretty good shape.
It's really...
I'm not saying he's the fit.
It's a really religious institution. And you really
He's at Liberty.
Yeah, I know, but that's a televangelist. I mean, there's a certain understanding that that's fraudulent. I don't know that anybody just takes the entire Baptist church and goes fraud. I mean, no one does that. Okay. I mean, I hear Jerry Falwell. I'm like, oh, come on. It's my bird in that tree.
What is this?
It's a bird in that tree. It's the same bird. He's in there all the time. He's huge. He must eat all the other birds.
You can hear him through the wall.
Oh, he's like the biggest bird.
What is he? What kind of bird is it?
I don't know. I'm not an ornithologist.
I don't see him. Where's he at?
He's moving around right in there in that tree.
You see him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know to look for him. I need to give him a name.
Okay.
He's huge.
Do you feed him?
No, I don't have to feed him. He must eat everything out there.
And he just hangs out in that tree?
Yeah, he hangs out in that tree all the time.
Okay.
Like, in fact, that tree's gotten so big that it blocks all the sunlight. And I've thought about cutting that tree down, but I realized I would be eliminating my bird's home.
Yeah, look, Freeze is going to get a gig. I don't know where it's going to be, but he's going to get a gig. Power 5. Phil's Big 12 ACC.
If you told me he got an ACC kind of gig, like an NC State sort of gig, I'd buy it. Fair enough.
Replace Dave Doran.
Ironically. Makes sense.
Because you know how this works. We talked about it yesterday when no matter what it is, if it's relationships or jobs or coaches or whatever, you have a breakup and you kind of go the other direction, you freak out a little bit. Dave Doran doesn't work eventually at NC State. They're going to want something a little flashier, a little different. Doran's that head down, quiet, whatever, kind of grinder. Waco was about 3 hours from one of the numbers that did come out on Hugh a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When he was in Houston recruiting Ryder Anderson.
Yeah, it was around. Yeah. Was that in Florida that eventually came out? Was that right?
A lot of in Tampa.
Yeah, that's right.
Tampa one was the one that got him, sort of ignited the thing.
That's right. Because the one number came out and then Pat found a bunch. Because Pat even found like the websites or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No one ever talked to any of the women, did they?
Mm-mm. I don't know if they tried or not.
I'm sure they tried.
Didn't have your entrepreneurial skills to accomplish that.
What would you have done if your editor had said, I want you to call and I want you to go get massages and I want you to talk to these women? I'd have to say, come on, man, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to get killed.
Yeah, you're not getting the massage for sure. I mean, okay, I'll go in the room. I mean, I'll go in the building and ask questions. I'm going to get kicked out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, but the only way that you would get any...
I know what you mean. You got to get on the table to...
Yeah, the only way that you're going to get to have a conversation... It's like when I was doing this thing
I understand.
In Pensacola, it was... I remember she goes, because I at one point was like, hey, will you stop moving? I'm trying to hear you. And she goes, if I stop moving, you're going to get kicked out of here.
Yeah.
She's like, I got to keep dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to act like you're into me dancing. Which was weird as hell because I wasn't remotely into it. I was like, come on, I'm trying to get, I'm wanting to take notes. You know what I mean?
Do that.
You can't do that.
So you think a reporter went to the building, yes or no?
I don't know. Probably not.
You don't think so?
Probably not. Probably the ethics of that.
It's different 10, 15 years later, too. I mean, you know, the Laramie guy never came out publicly.
Never did.
Weird. That's strange to me.
Yeah.
Because it was a little flimsy, but we knew it. I mean, we enough to call our editors at Yahoo that night and go, hey, yes or no?
Told them the name.
Yeah, said,
Yeah.
What we got?
What's Buffin's first name at Ole Miss?
KJ.
You know, he's a great broadcaster. He did not get into the Hall of Fame this year.
I do. Pat Hughes. He's a hell of a broadcaster.
He is fantastic.
He is.
Go back and listen to his call of Game 7 of the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely spectacular.
That's
in
good.
the moment.
Yeah, just off the top of your head there.
Yep. KJ Buffin.
Non sequitur, nothing.
That's right.
Okay.
I just think about things sometimes. My brain works in funny ways. Sometimes I think about broadcasters. We talked about basketball at the beginning of the show. So it was on my mind.
I am not it's last on the live stream here. I am not a lottery or scratch off person at all. Nope.
Nope. Not my thing.
I don't anticipate ever winning, and no, I'm good.
I've told people this before. I could walk through Las Vegas and walk through every casino. I'm not. Listen, I have no criticism or judgment for the people who love to gamble.
Yeah.
None at all. I get it. I do. I get it. But I could, no joke, walk through every casino in Las Vegas and never even feel the itch. That does nothing for me.
Very social for me. I like roulette. I like craps. I like talking, just kind of hanging out. We have a lot of new listeners. Somebody goes, why were you interviewing a stripper? It's another story for a different day.
Yeah.
We can tell it again at some point. But, yeah. Funny Stan. All right.
Yeah, I did not. I didn't go to any private room. Yeah. I was in the main little area, which made the girl even more uncomfortable.
Right. All right. We will wrap there. Appreciate Ross Dellenger for his time as always. We'll talk to Jeopardy tomorrow, and we'll continue to discuss probably the topics that we talked about today. So I hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.